Welcome to Across the Goal Line Sports Podcast brought to you by Die Hard fans. Luke got to start here, over here.
How you doing, Corey?
Corey Mains, as always. And today, we got you some college football, as we typically do, and some NFL.
A lot of it.
A lot of college football. Probably a lot of discussion here.
Yeah.
Because we're going to kick things
A
off.
lot of good discussion.
A lot of good discussion. So, because we're going to kick things off with the college football playoff rankings that came out on Sunday afternoon at about 12:30. Ended up coming out. The top four are. I'll just instead of doing the top four, I'll go for the two games that are going to be played.
Yeah.
The Peach and the Fiesta Bowl. The Peach Bowl, which is number 1 versus number 4. Alabama versus Washington. So Alabama's 1. Washington is number 4. At 2 and 3, you got Clemson and Ohio State. Clemson actually jumped above Ohio State to take the 2 spot. No, they'll play Ohio State.
Well, Ohio State didn't play, so it's
it makes sense.
It does make sense, yeah.
They'll be in the Fiesta Bowl. So those 2 games will be taking place on. Is it New Year's Day or
it's
the day after?
It's New Year's Eve.
New Year's Eve.
December 31st. It's on a Saturday. It's how it was last year.
Well, this year more than ever because football's going to be played on Sunday, obviously.
Yeah,
New Year's Day.
Because the NFL owns Sundays, and this has happened before in the past 5 years. It's normally every 5 years the same date is on the same day of the week. I was telling Corey about that last week. But anyways, New Year's Eve is when these college football playoff semifinal games are going to be. The NFL owns Sundays. January 1st is a Sunday this year, so have your regular slate of NFL games. And then January 2nd is when the normal January 1st bowl games, such as the Rose Bowl, the Cotton Bowl, and it's the Sugar Bowl this year. It rotates in. Whatever one's not the college football playoff semifinal game will be the 8:30 game on ESPN. So Cotton Bowl's at 1, Rose Bowl's at 5:30, and then the Sugar Bowl's at 8:30. And we'll get more into that later on today, and then next week too when we give our bowl projections.
Yeah, because I mean we're gonna be. I don't know how you want to do this per se. Do you want to keep going through the rankings, or just want to stay here and kind of talk about that top 4? Because it garners a lot of discussion, of course.
Well, we can talk about like the top 5, top 6.
Top 6?
Yeah.
6?
Because with the 2 teams that got out, obviously, I'm going to have to say a lot about that number 5 team, the Penn State Nittany Lions. Getting snubbed once again, like they always do. They always get screwed over. In my opinion, and I've been saying it for the past month and a half, Washington did not deserve to be ranked as high as what they're being ranked. Their non-conference schedule was next to dead last in college football. Yeah, I understand they won the Pac-12, but especially with people saying the Big Ten is the best conference in college football right now, how can you not take the Big Ten champion, Penn State, especially when they beat Ohio State head-to-head? It's like they might as well not even play the damn games anymore. Doesn't make any sense at all. But it's nothing new. Penn State always gets screwed over, and that's pretty much all I'll say about it.
And I don't know why you're ragging on Washington. It should be this should be more of an argument between not Washington and Penn State. It should be Penn State and Ohio State, which one's in. Because Washington deserves to be in.
Well, I understand that, Corey. I mean, yeah, like I said, they did win the Pac-12, but their non-conference schedule was dead last. So if Penn State would have scheduled like Youngstown State, and they would have won instead of scheduling Pitt or Temple, who won the American Athletic Conference, would they be in over Washington then? And then the Big Ten would have 2 teams in.
No. Well, the thing is, you keep bringing up the strength schedule non-conference, but their regular strength of schedule is very comparable to Penn State, though. That's the only argument people seem to have against Washington is their non-conference strength of schedule. Their strength of record's 4th. They're 4th in the FPI, the Football Power Index, which are both higher than Penn State's. I mean, they're conference champion, that helps. So they're very they're comparable, if not better, to Penn State in some categories. Also, I don't know why it seems like you're underrating the Pac-12 a lot. Pac-12 this year, I would say, is either second or third best conference in college football. Just looking at it. Maybe if you dig a little deeper, maybe not so much.
Yeah.
But it is. If you look at just the rankings themselves, they got 3 teams in the top 10. Big Ten has 4, but that's all the Big Ten has. They just have those 4 top 10 teams. they have 5 in the top 20. The Pac-12 does. So they have a lot of really, really good teams.
Yeah.
And they're a really, really good conference. And Washington beat the best of the best in that conference, and they beat them pretty handily for the most part. Of course, they have the loss to USC,
Who plays Penn State?
which is a top 10 team. That's their
And
only
the
loss.
Red Bull.
It's Washington's
Yeah.
only loss, too, to a top 10 team.
Yeah.
Penn State, I mean, their 2 losses aren't bad. Michigan's a top 10 team, and the other one's a top 25 team, and Pitt at
Pitt.
23
Yeah.
now. And Pitt's a team that kind of came out of nowhere. 'Cause,
And Pitt beat Clemson too. That's
Yeah.
that's the other argument. Pitt beat Clemson head to head, and Pitt beat Penn State. So I mean, I like where Pitt's ranked at. I mean, they could be ranked a little bit higher, but the teams ahead of them are a little bit better. But Pitt beat Clemson. Pitt beat Penn State, and Clemson's at 2, and Michigan's at 6, who also beat Penn State. So, I mean, the only thing that's hurting Penn State is that 1 loss to Pitt because Washington only had 1 loss. Penn State ended up having 2. That's what I'm saying. If Penn State would have scheduled like Youngstown State or some FCS school like Washington did, but the Big Ten does not allow that, and that's the thing. Within the past 5 to 10 years, teams and conferences have been trying to get away from playing these smaller schools and play better non-conference schedules. Yet, when Penn State and other teams do it, a team like Washington and other teams in the Pac-12 play non-conference schedules like that. Obviously, they win. A win's a win. I understand that. But then they do it. They're ranked ahead. It's a big mess. Something needs to change. Now, do they expand the playoff? I don't think they should, because you're still going to have, if you say expand it to 8, you're going to have teams 9 and 10 arguing that they should have been in. So, it just, one thing leads to another, and then we'll be at how college basketball is with 68 teams now, and they have 4 playing games.
yeah. Well,
Yeah, I'm still mad Penn State didn't get him, but obviously, it is good for college football, though. Washington hasn't been good in recent years. They haven't won a national title since 1991. So it's good to see a good mix, teams from 4 different conferences in the college football playoff this year. But it's like with Penn State and Ohio State, as you said, that should be more the argument. Since Penn State beat them head to head, it's like why do you play the games then?
Yeah.
If it's going to come down to this in the end. Penn State won the Big Ten East, which also has Michigan and Ohio State in it.
Yeah.
And then they went on and won the Big Ten title for the whole damn conference. So it just, like I said, Penn State always gets screwed over. It's nothing new. Like I said, I'm still mad about it, but it is what it is. I can't do anything about it. So I'm going to leave it at that. And like I said, it's good for college football. Let's move on to the semifinal games, though, and talk about those a little bit.
but why can't we just keep talking about this for a
Well, all
while?
right, why not?
I mean, of course, I'm not saying just because I keep saying that stuff about why Washington should have been in instead of Penn State. I'm not saying Penn State should have been in. I think they should have been, obviously, because they got the head-to-head. They got the conference championship.
Yeah.
It's just I knew, and everyone else pretty much knew, that the committee was higher on Ohio State, just in general.
Yeah.
And part of that is because of their, quite weirdly, their non-conference schedule.
And yeah, exactly. I thought about that too, Corey, because they played at Oklahoma and they crushed Oklahoma, who finished 7th in the final college football playoff rankings. And then they also, who else did they play in non-conference? They played somebody else, I thought. Maybe not.
Well, I mean, it's really the Oklahoma game that is the biggest one.
Yeah,
and
because
the
they
biggest
went to Norman and they blew them out, and their only loss was to Penn State. So, I mean, I can agree with that.
And
I'm obviously rooting for Ohio State now,
Yeah.
just because you got to root for your conference to, be the best conference in college football, as people say the Big Ten is as of right now. So, I'm rooting for Alabama and Ohio State to go play each other in the national title game, a rematch of the Sugar Bowl 2 years ago in the first semifinal game for the college football playoff. And then I'm rooting for Ohio State to beat Alabama and be a good national championship game. as it
Yeah.
was last year with Alabama and Clemson. Now, a lot of people would like to see a rematch between Alabama and Clemson, I think, 1 versus 2 then.
I wouldn't.
But we already saw that, so why don't you mix it up?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
you're
right.
obviously still going to get a rematch, one way or another if Washington loses, because then those top 3 teams, Alabama, Clemson, and Ohio State, have played each other
Yeah.
within the past couple of years. Remember, Clemson played Ohio State in the Orange Bowl a few years back as well.
Yeah, and another reason for Ohio State, of course, they have the win over Michigan. They beat
Yeah.
Wisconsin too,
Yep.
on the road as well.
Who came in at 8th?
And then also, I mean, at the time, Nebraska was a big one because they crushed them
Yep.
too. So that's another bigger win. So they have a lot of big wins, and you can argue Penn State doesn't have nearly the amount of bigger wins. They have the Ohio State and now Wisconsin. They didn't previously,
Yeah.
of course, but they needed to win. Obviously, they were going to get one if they won that.
Now, if they
championship game.
would have won by more than 7 points, do you think they get in over Washington? Because
Possibly.
they were down 28-7.
Yeah.
I knew that game wasn't over. Some people irritate me.
I would figure
whenever they say the game's over in the first quarter after a team scores 2 touchdowns in a row and the other team doesn't even get a chance to score. It's like the game is for 60 minutes, not 30 or not 15 for the first quarter. You let the game play out. If it goes as it was going in the first quarter, that's how it goes. But the game is 60 minutes. Just let the whole let the whole damn game play out. I'll talk to you after the game.
Yeah. Well, also, if you're a big Penn State fan, you follow Penn State, you know they're a better second half team anyway.
Yes, exactly. It's been like that all season. Especially the Ohio State game. They were down 21-7 entering the fourth quarter. And then with about 8 minutes to go, Grant Haley returned the blocked field goal by Marcus Allen and returned for a touchdown, and Penn State ended up winning. What other game was there? They were down. The the Pitt game, mostly the whole damn season they were down, and they came back in the second half. Penn State's always been like this, but more so of it this year. Being a second half team, whenever Joe was there, when O'Brien was there, they always started out slow. I don't know what it is. I don't know if the kids stay up too late, don't get enough sleep, or they something. They've always been like that.
Yeah.
They always start out slow, and then they always find a way to win in the end most of the time. Penn State's one of the winningest programs in college football history. They're ranked in the top 10.
Yeah.
They've always started out slow, but more so this year. You said that Pitt game. They're down 28-7 as well. And then they're down 28-14 at halftime, as they were against Wisconsin this past weekend in the Big Ten championship game. And they came back and ended up losing 42-39 because of a bonehead play call there at the end. But that is what it is. We can't do anything about that. We can yell at our TVs all we want, like I do. But it is what it is. So they've been a second half team all year.
Yeah, for the most part. Even in games where they've won, like the Michigan State game, they were winning at halftime, but then they blew them out in the second half.
Yeah.
They went out in the second half, put up like 30 or something.
Yeah,
Didn't let a single point for Michigan State.
Yeah, well, no, they were down 12-10.
Oh, they were?
They were down 12-10 to Michigan State at halftime, and then they came back and won 45-12. So they scored 35 unanswered in the second half.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's been their MO pretty much the entire season. And the other thing that really didn't help Penn State at all was the fact that Alabama, mostly Clemson, Washington winning their title.
Yeah, now
and actually Washington winning by so much, by 31 in their championship game, really hurt.
Mm-hmm.
I think
I agree with that.
I think the bigger thing isn't so much maybe Penn State won bigger, maybe if Washington won a little lower then.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, that's why I picked Virginia Tech and Colorado to win last year, because I was rooting. I had to root for.
You wanted to.
I had to root against those teams, so especially if Penn State won, which they did, that they would get in.
It'd be a guarantee. Then.
So, if Clemson or Washington,
if that would have happened, then we're talking about who knows, Michigan or even Oklahoma possibly getting in over like a Clemson.
The Big Ten could have had 3 teams in. Big Ten could have still would have had at least 2 in.
Yeah.
And then we could have been seeing a rematch between Penn State and Ohio State in the semifinal game, or possibly in the
more than likely, I think.
or in the national championship game. Just depends on how things would have played out, and then the committee would have went with that then. But that obviously didn't happen. So
Yeah, and I mean, I knew that the committee would do this. They would not take out Ohio State. I knew that would happen, and
They dropped them though one spot.
they did
from
drop
2
them.
to
I
3.
thought that might happen as well. But, I mean, once you
because
realize
they were not a conference champion. They didn't even win their own division in the conference. As I said,
Yeah.
Penn State won the East, and then Penn State won the whole Big Ten. They didn't play last weekend though either, so that's why they had to drop them one. I agree with Ohio State being dropped.
But I said it last week
and
too.
all that really matters is that they're the away team against Clemson now in the festival.
And that's what I said last week when we were doing this. Our predictions for who's the top 4. I'm like, maybe Clemson jumps Ohio State, and like it wouldn't matter because they're still going to play each other.
Yeah.
Like that really doesn't have any value in the games.
Possibly
Yeah.
they play each other. Yeah.
But I mean, they are now. But
yeah.
when I said that, of course, we weren't 100% sure.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we just had to see how the weekend would play out.
And I mean, I knew Penn State would get above Michigan in the total thing because I mean, they won the Big Ten championship and stuff, despite having the head-to-head loss to them. And that was another wacky thing. Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State all have wins against the other.
Yeah.
So like other scenarios play out, then it's just weird, you know. And it was the same way with. I mean, this isn't really like big into this argument, but like the same thing happened with Iowa for those 3 teams: Michigan and Penn State and Iowa. Because Iowa beat Michigan, Michigan beat Penn State beat Iowa. So, like, I mean, I know Iowa doesn't have any significance, like, really big significance in the playoff stuff.
Not this year. Last year they did. They were playing for the Big Ten title, and they obviously lost. Now,
that was just kind of like a little factoid that I found interesting.
That is interesting. I think all that little stuff's interesting. I probably would have said the same thing if I would have caught it a little sooner, but. Like I said, it's good for college football that Washington is in the playoff.
I mean, I think they made the right call in the end. I mean, I don't necessarily think maybe they made the right call. Like, I understand why they made it more so, I guess. Because Ohio State, they're one of the best teams in college football. There's no denying it. And
no, I mean, the only argument Penn State has is that they beat them head-to-head.
Yeah, in the conference championship, and that's
so
it.
if Ohio State wins the national title, Penn State wins the national title. So, in my opinion, because they beat them head to head, and that happened 2 years ago as well. Ohio State won the national title in the first ever college football playoff. If you remember the Penn State Ohio State game at Beaver Stadium back in 2014, game went to double overtime. There's some horrible calls in the first half. The one was there's an interception. The ball clearly hit the turf. They called it an interception on the field. They did not overrule it. Penn State should have had the ball back. Ohio State obviously got the ball then. And then a little bit later on with the delay game on the field goal, the play clock obviously went to zeros, and they didn't call a delay game. They kicked the field goal, and then they were up 3 points then at that point, and Ohio State ended up winning the game in double overtime 31-24, but you know, if they would have had those calls right, who knows how that game would have played out, and then who knows if Ohio State would have been the national champion. So it probably was a little bit better that did happen because Ohio State ended up winning the national title that year, which I'm happy about. It's good for the conference. As I said, you got to root, whatever conference you root for, whatever team you root for, whatever conference they play in, you got to root for. Your, the other teams in your conference, no matter if you hate them or not. It's good for the conference. It's bragging rights against other schools and other conferences. And when we see when you get to listen to our bowl projections next week, I'll be picking every single Big Ten school. I think except for one, because I think the matchup's a little bit better. Because I've got them finished already, but I think I'm going to go back and make some changes. But I'm going to take all Big Ten schools, I think, except for one. So, like I said, you got to root for your conference. It's because it's good. It makes your conference look better against other schools. So, I think we'll leave it at that.
We'll get into it right now.
I don't have anything else to say.
Get some bowls and the top 4 teams at least. There are 2.
Yeah, we'll just do the
semifinals.
Let's just do the semifinal games because I want to save bowl games for the next couple of weeks because they go on starting December 17th next Saturday, the whole way to January 9th when the national championship is. So just do the semifinal games right now, and then whenever the semifinals are the December 31st. We can pick those again if we
Okay.
change our minds that week when
There's a chance,
when
so.
we.
So we are going to pick them right now.
Yeah, let's do the top four.
All right.
Semifinal games.
So we'll start with 1 and 4 in the
All
Peach Bowl. Alabama taking on Washington. I mean, I see a lot of people like just throwing this game out the window already because they think Alabama's going to crush Washington. Washington is no joke. They're a top 10 team in both offensive and defense.
They are. I mean, I agree with that, but the thing is, the reason why I didn't want them in the top four is because the teams that they played in their non-conference slate, and Penn State had better. We already talked about that though.
That's the problem.
I do agree. Washington, they are a good team, and like I said, it's good for college football because Washington hasn't been in this situation in a very long time. And Washington's going to put up points on Alabama's defense. But for me, Alabama's going to win the game, and they're going to play in the national title game for the second straight year.
I mean, they're definitely likely to. I mean, I think it's going to be way closer than some people are thinking right now. Some people are saying that Alabama's going to crush them. I don't think that'll happen.
I can see that just because they're playing in the Peach Bowl in Atlanta.
Well, yeah.
Alabama's closer to Atlanta, Georgia.
Well, top team gets
Washington is.
advantage.
They do. But that's basically a home game for them. And they just played there this past weekend as well against Florida in the SEC championship.
Of course. I think it'll be way closer than a lot of people are saying because I think Washington will be able to slow them down sometime.
Yeah.
Occasionally here and there. I don't think it's going to be a blowout by any means. I mean, these are the 4 best teams in college football. I don't think any of these should be blowouts. If there is, then that means something, either one team played really bad or one team was really, really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
Because,
I'm trying to think. Well, last year there was a blowout. Clemson blew out Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And then the 2 years before that, both games were good. Alabama blew out Michigan State as well last year. So both semifinal games last year are pretty much blowouts. But then the national championship game was good.
Yeah.
So that was an odd year. Go back to the even years. As I said, the 2 games were good. You had Oregon and Florida State in the Rose Bowl, and Alabama and Ohio State in the Sugar Bowl. So it's another even year. So let's see if that repeats itself as it was 2 years.
I just want to say something.
Yeah.
The one thing I saw on Twitter that really kind of made me a little upset is that people were arguing for Penn State just simply based on the fact that they could have given Alabama a better matchup. And that was the reasoning for putting Penn State in.
Oh, Penn State would give Alabama a better run for their money than I think Washington would.
Well, it just
I think
infuriates
Penn
me.
State's better on offense, or on defense, than Washington is. They would have been able to slow Alabama and Jalen Hurts down a little bit more than Washington's defense would have. But then, as you said, Penn State's always been a second half team, and I think that's better rather than having them be a better team in the first half because you know how much you're down by. You know what you need to do to come back and win the game.
Yeah, but my problem with that is when you play a team as good as Alabama is, I don't know if being down so much in the first half is not going to. It's going to be really hard to come back against a team like Alabama with their defense.
Yeah,
which is really, really good. So,
and I've said how good Alabama is. All year.
I don't like that kind of.
How many guys they have in the NFL. What Nick Saban's able to do.
Yeah.
Down in Tuscaloosa. So.
I don't like that characteristic of needing to come back in the second half all the time against a team as good as Alabama in that situation. If that were to be the actual matchup, that is. But I was just infuriated by it because that was the reasoning for people putting Penn State in, though. It wasn't anything else. It was just, they were given a better matchup.
They might. I think they would have. As I said, so.
Yeah, but that's not what.
I think Penn State travels well wherever they go. And Pennsylvania is closer to Georgia than what Washington is to Georgia. So, and Penn State has alumni all across the country. Penn State has the largest alumni association in the world. If Penn State would have got in as over Washington, it would have been, better for, marketing, food, hotels, the whole 9 yards. I think Penn State would have traveled better. They always do. Hell, they just the Rose Bowl sold out of all their tickets already that they've given Penn State. So Penn State fans, if you're looking to go to the Rose Bowl, go to StubHub because you're not going to find them on Ticketmaster. Or if you're out in LA, you're going to have to try to scalp some. But it just shows you, how good Penn State is. So I think Penn State would have done a better job with that as well. But like I said, it is what it is. I mean, there's nothing I can do. We can sit here and bullshit about it all day. But
if people can bitch and complain, but you know, it's what the committee thinks, not what you think.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
And that's basically what it boils down to.
Yep.
And hey, they saw something that others didn't. You know.
Mm-hmm.
The other game is Clemson, Ohio State.
Who you gonna pick? You pick?
Oh, I didn't pick. Yeah. Well, I'm picking Alabama,
Okay.
but I'm
That's
just
what
saying.
that's what I thought.
Yeah. I mean, I think Washington might give them a run for their money, possibly, because, well, I mean, another thing is people are going to underestimate Washington. That's just maybe going to fuel their fire, possibly. They may come out and maybe Alabama even takes them a little lightly, possibly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's highly unlikely, you know, because Alabama's so well prepped and they're always ready, you know. Actually, my favorite part of the selection show was just like how casual Alabama was because they knew they were in.
Yeah, they didn't even have a.
They'd have a party,
they
guys.
had
It was just a
nothing.
normal day
Yep.
in Alabama. Nick Saban went to church regularly. It was like that was kind of the funniest thing there. And they had the audacity to put a reporter there in Tuscaloosa.
Well, that's ESPN for you. They'll
Yeah.
put reporters anywhere.
Yeah,
That's any news for you. They'll put reporters on, atop of a burning building if they had to.
yeah. But yeah, that's just a little side note right there. But yeah, Clemson, Ohio State. Let's get into it.
All right.
Fiesta Bowl will be. It's in what Arizona it is.
Yeah, Glendale, Arizona,
Glendale.
where the Arizona Cardinals play. Let me grab the phone real quick.
While Luke grabs that, I will make some cases for the Fiesta Bowl.
Hello?
Clemson's been really, really good down the stretch. They've played really well. Of course, they only have the one loss to Pitt later in the season, a last-minute field goal at home, of course.
Okay,
So
thank you.
That's a little bit something else. Hold on. Luke, is that anything?
What?
Was that anything?
No, that was nothing.
That was nothing? All right. But yeah, Clemson's been a really good team down the stretch. Have played really well, of course. Ohio State, they haven't played since beating Michigan a couple
Two
weeks
weeks ago.
So, I mean, maybe they come out. I mean, all these teams aren't going to be playing for a while until December 31st, of
Yeah.
course. But I guess so. Maybe rust isn't exactly a good argument in this situation. Ohio State's been one of the best teams all year, of course.
They have.
We know that. It's going to be
Only loss was to Penn State.
only lost to Penn State. Oh yeah, but this is probably more than likely going to be the better of the two games.
I agree with
For
that.
sure.
I agree with that.
Should be a really close game. We'll see who steps up.
Ohio State's playing in the Fiesta Bowl for second straight year as well.
Second straight.
Played Notre Dame in it last year.
Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Oh man. I am going. This is just, of course, as of now.
As of now, we could change our mind.
first look, maybe closer to
we
around game
we
time.
got
And
we got
stuff,
3
possibly.
weeks to change our mind.
Yeah, we got a long time. I'm going to go Ohio State. I know you are too because you're picking all Big Ten. But
Yeah.
mostly because I just don't want to see another I don't want to see another rematch in the championship game. I just don't.
Well,
want to see
what if Washington? Because the Alabama Washington game's first. It's at 3:00 on New Year's Eve. What if Washington, upsets Alabama? Would you pick Clemson then over Ohio State to have Clemson and Washington?
Well, the
in
problem
Ohio
is
State
I'm picking-
in the national championship
I'm
game?
picking based on my own pick.
Okay.
So I'm prospectively thinking Alabama's going to be there anyway. So
Yeah.
So I'm taking Ohio State. But I mean, who knows? Honestly, this game is almost 50-50, I think. It's percentage points of who's favored to win, I think.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a take your pick, flip a coin type of thing. I don't think there's either of these teams don't really have an advantage over the other, I don't think. It's
And
gonna
as
be
I said, this is a rematch of the Orange Bowl a couple years ago.
a couple years ago. So, but yeah,
2013 season, I think.
as of now, Ohio State, mostly because I don't want to see a rematch.
Yeah.
I know you are.
Yeah,
but,
I'm picking Ohio State. I saw them play. They're part of the Big Ten. You got to root for the Big Ten, as I said, and that's for every bowl game. So yeah, I'm going to take Ohio State over Clemson
All right.
to get revenge because they lost to Clemson a couple years ago. And now, too, Corey, I'm going to throw this in here.
All right.
If we saw the BCS rankings, we wouldn't have 2 semifinal games. We would just have one national championship
One
game.
v2.
It'd be 1 versus 2. Alabama would be 1. Ohio State would be 2. Ohio State went unremoved, and that's what we would have come January 9th in Tampa.
All right.
But with the playoff, we got 2 semifinal games, 2 good semifinal games. I think the later one's going to be a better one. I agree with you on that. with Clemson and Ohio State. But
It's a better one on paper.
it's football. The bowl season is one of the, my favorite times of the year, alongside the start of college football season. The whole what's the word I want to use? The whole for the whole season. The whole season of football is one of the best times of the year. I'll just say that, and then at the end of the year, for both college and NFL. So it's gonna be fun. Very exciting to watch. It always is. So yeah, I'll leave it at that.
All right. So that leaves us moving on then, right?
Yep. Unless you want to talk about the
rankings.
The other.
I'll just say I did another top 25 myself again. Did pretty well. The only team I didn't have, well, there's a couple teams. Well, this time it was easier because only a couple of teams played.
Yeah.
Of course, so it was easier to move stuff around.
Yeah.
Not a lot of chaos happened as well. So the most I had off was Florida by 2. I had them down 2 from where they are. They're 17.
Yeah,
I'm at 19.
Or 17.
I thought they'd go down way more considering they got blown out, but no. Also, Virginia Tech staying in the top 25 despite losing, actually moving up a spot, I felt was really shocking.
Yeah, 22.
I didn't even have them in. So I had one personal one that I thought I had Iowa in, maybe getting in. I had Navy out as well, by the way. I can see why Temple's in, of course.
They won the American Athletic Conference, and now head coach Matt Rhule has accepted the Baylor head coaching vacancy. So good for Matt Rhule. He's a former Penn State linebacker. He's from State College. He's been at Temple for the past I don't know how many years as an assistant under Al Golden, and then the head coach at Temple then. But now he's going to Baylor. What else is there? Penn State's at 5. They're playing USC in the Rose Bowl. Michigan's at 6. They're playing Florida State in the Orange Bowl. Oklahoma's at 7. Wisconsin's playing Western Michigan. They're at 8. Western Michigan's 15. Colorado's in the Alamo Bowl. They're at 10. As I said, Florida State's at 11. Oklahoma State's at 12. Louisville's at 13. Auburn at 14. Western Michigan at 15. West Virginia at 16. They play in Orlando for the Champ Sports Bowl, I believe it's called. And then Florida at 17. You thought they would have been at 19. Yeah. Stanford finished 9-3, coming in at 18 after a slow. They didn't start out slow. They had a breakdown in the middle of the season.
Yeah.
After they played Washington. Utah at 19. LSU at 20. That Utah, I believe Utah plays Indiana. That's the one Big Ten team I'm not gonna pick. I'm gonna pick everybody else though, because Indiana, after they fired Kevin Wilson, they did promote their defensive coordinator Tom Allen to the head coaching job, but so there's nothing really gonna change. But I think Utah is just a better team than they are. Tennessee finished 8-4 after a lot of people thought they would win the SEC East, possibly win the whole conference. A team they beat at the Battle of Bristol, Virginia Tech, they came in at 22nd at 9-4, just because they played for the ACC title. Pitt at 23, Temple 24, and Navy at 25. We played Army this weekend.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good bowl games too, but we'll get into that next week.
Yeah. I personally threw in Kansas State.
Why?
Well, they finished the season 8-4. Their only 4 losses were to teams that were within the rankings at the time that they lost. They lost 3 conference games to all the 3 teams above them: West Virginia, Oklahoma, and Oklahoma State. And they also lost the opening season to Stanford. So the only problem with them is they don't have any good wins, of course, because they've just beaten the teams from the Big 12 that aren't named Oklahoma State, West Virginia, and Oklahoma. But they don't have a bad loss either, so they're a pretty good team. They got a pretty good bowl game, I guess. They're playing A&M in the I don't even remember what it's called.
In a rematch of 2 Big 12 teams.
Technically, yes.
A&M was in the Big 12 there for the longest time, and now they're in the SEC. So that'll be a.
I mean, I knew they wouldn't get in. By the way, I just put them in there.
Well, that's your own. Big 12 schools.
It was in my personal list.
Yeah.
I made 2 lists actually. I made one that I think should have, or / what I thought personally.
Yeah.
And then I made one what I thought that the committee would do, and that was the one that was way better than the other one, because the other one had Penn State in, of course. I think I mentioned that, and then of course the the one that I thought it had the pretty much perfect, except for Clemson and Ohio State flip flop. So not too bad again this week on that.
Hey,
I
John,
took-
you want to share this? It'd be
Yeah,
greatly appreciated.
And I don't know if you looked at my Twitter before any of the rankings came out.
I did. I saw it.
Yeah,
You
but-
said you thought they're right where they were supposed to be.
Well, before that, before they even came out, I made about 4 tweets or so saying how Penn
No,
State
I didn't see that.
will probably not make it despite having the championship and in the head-to-head and stuff.
I didn't
and
see
that,
that. I'll have to go back. I'll have to go back and look.
yeah, and then how Washington, Clemson, and Alabama